Tara and the Big Adventure on Two Wheels. Tara is an 8-year-old girl who lives in a small town. She has long black hair and brown eyes. Tara is very curious and loves trying new things. Today is a special day for her. She wants to finally learn how to ride a bicycle. Her father has given her a beautiful red bike, and she can't wait to start riding it. "Okay, Tara," says her father as they step onto the sidewalk. "Sit on the seat, and I will hold the bike so you don't fall." Tara nods excitedly and gets on the bike. She feels a little unsure, but her father smiles and says, "You can do it, Tara. Just be brave." Slowly, she starts pedaling, and the bike begins to move. But after a few meters, the bike wobbles, and Tara loses her balance. She falls down and feels her knee hit the ground. "Ouch!" Tara shouts as she looks up. Tears fill her eyes. Her father comes to her right away. "Are you okay, Tara?" he asks with concern. Tara nods, but she feels sad and a bit scared. Her knee burns, and she sees a small scratch with some blood. "I don't know if I want to try again," she says softly. "What if I fall again?" Her father sits beside her and gently wipes the blood with a tissue. "It's okay, Tara. Everyone falls when they learn something new," he says gently. "But do you know what's important? That you always get up and try again." Tara thinks for a moment. She looks at her bike, which is red and shiny in the sun, and then at her knee. She feels afraid, but she really wants to learn. "I want to try again," she says finally. Her father smiles proudly. "That's my brave Tara," he says. "I will hold you, and we will try again." Tara gathers all her courage, sits back on the bike, and takes a deep breath. Slowly, she starts pedaling again. This time, the bike wobbles less, and her father runs beside her, holding her steady. After a few meters, he carefully lets go, but Tara doesn't even notice. She keeps looking forward and feels the wind in her hair. "I'm doing it!" Tara shouts suddenly. "I'm really riding!" Her father claps his hands excitedly. "Yes, Tara, you're doing it!" he shouts back. Tara keeps riding, her heart beating with joy, and she feels very proud. After a few minutes, she stops and jumps off the bike, laughing. "Daddy, I did it," she says happily. "I really learned to ride a bike." Her father hugs her. "I'm so proud of you, Tara," he says. "You didn't give up, even though it was hard. That's the most important thing." Tara feels great. She knows she still has to practice a lot, but now she has the courage to keep trying. In the following days, she practices every day, and soon she rides faster and more confidently than ever before. Mark and the right decision. Mark works in a big company in Frankfurt. Today, there is an important meeting where all the employees talk about a new project. Mark feels a little nervous. His boss, Mr. Schneider, stands up and says loudly, "We want to thank Mark. His idea will make our project much better." Mark is surprised. He knows that the idea is not his. It came from his colleague, Sabine. She worked on it for many weeks. Mark looks at Sabine. She smiles, but she also looks surprised. "What should I do?" Mark thinks. "Should I stay quiet and take the praise, or should I tell the truth?" Mark thinks for a moment. It would be easy to say nothing and get the praise, he thinks. But that wouldn't be honest. Sabine worked hard. She deserves the recognition. He clears his throat and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Schneider, but the idea comes from Sabine. She developed it." The room becomes quiet. Everyone looks at Mark and Sabine. Mr. Schneider nods and says, "Thank you, Mark, for telling the truth. And Sabine, Great job! Sabine smiles and says, Thank you. She looks at Mark and whispers, Thanks for being honest. After the meeting, Mark feels relieved. He is glad he told the truth. The next day, Sabine comes to Mark. Hey, Mark, she says, I heard you're working on a new project. Can I help you? Mark is surprised and says, Yes, that would be great, Sabine. I really need help. Sabine sits down with him and explains how she has done similar projects before. She gives him good tips and shows him how to make the work easier. Mark is happy and thankful. This is exactly what I needed, he says. In the next days, Mark and Sabine often work together. Mark learns a lot from Sabine and notices that they make a great team. They talk and laugh a lot while working. The work becomes more fun, and Mark feels more confident. A few days later, Mr. Schneider calls Mark into his office. Mark, he says, I have seen how well you and Sabine are working together. This is exactly what we need. People who are honest and work well together. Mark smiles and says, Thank you, Mr. Schneider. I have learned a lot from Sabine. Mr. Schneider nods and says, That's good. Honesty is important in our company. Mia and the Challenge of the Group project. Mia is a 13-year-old girl who goes to school in Berlin. She is a good student and loves learning new things. One day, the teacher, Mrs. Braun, gives the class a new project. The students have to work in groups and prepare a topic about the environment. Mia is very excited when Mrs. Braun makes her the group leader. She feels proud, but also a little nervous. Mia's group has 4 students: Mia, Max, Lena, and Jonas. They meet after school to discuss the topic. We will talk about recycling and how it helps the environment, Mia explains. Max, you can do something about plastic recycling. Lena, you will talk about paper recycling. Jonas, you will say something about metal recycling, and I will put everything together. Everyone nods, and Mia feels good. She believes she has a great group. But after a few days, Mia notices that Jonas has done nothing. Max and Lena have completed their tasks and sent Mia their notes, but she has received nothing from Jonas. Mia starts to worry. What should I do? She thinks. Should I just do his work, or should I talk to him? Mia thinks for a long time. It will be hard to do everything alone, she thinks, but I don't want the project to turn out badly either. Finally, she decides to talk to Jonas. It's better to be honest, she thinks. The next day during the break, Mia goes to Jonas. Hi, Jonas, she says kindly. Can I talk to you for a minute? Jonas looks nervous. Yeah, sure. What's up? He asks. Mia takes a deep breath. I wanted to ask how your part of the project is going, she says. Jonas sighs and looks down, embarrassed. I'm sorry, Mia, he says quietly. I've had a lot to do these past days, and I didn't know how to start. I don't have much experience with projects like this. Mia smiles understandingly. That's okay, Jonas, she says. If you want, I can help you get started. We could meet after school today and work on it together. Jonas's face brightens up. Really? That would be great. Thank you, Mia, he says. That afternoon, Mia and Jonas meet in the school library. Mia shows him how to find information, and they work together on the presentation about metal recycling. Jonas soon feels more confident and even has some creative ideas. You have really good ideas, Jonas, says Mia, smiling. In the next few days, the group works more closely together. Jonas is motivated and does more for the project. Max and Lena notice the change and are impressed. They praise Jonas for his efforts and help him when he has questions. Finally, the day of the presentation arrives. The group stands in front of the class. Mia starts, then Max and Lena speak, and finally, it's Jonas's turn. He speaks loudly and clearly and explains his ideas well. The class listens, and Mrs. Braun smiles, pleased. After the presentation, the whole class claps. Mrs. Braun says, "Well done, everyone. You worked as a team, and it shows." Mia feels happy and proud. She knows that she made the right decision to talk to Jonas. After class, Jonas comes to Mia. "Thank you for helping me," he says. "I wouldn't have managed without your support." Mia smiles. "It was no problem, Jonas. I've learned that we are much better as a team." Through this experience, Mia realizes that it is important to be honest and to address problems directly. She has learned that every group member can contribute something important when they receive the right help. Mia is glad she helped Jonas, and now she knows she will always try to be fair and friendly. Jenny and the decision for the truth. Jenny is a 14-year-old girl who lives in a small town. She has long brown hair and a friendly smile. Jenny is in the 8th grade, and her best friend is Leah. The two girls are inseparable and do everything together. They laugh a lot and share secrets. They are like sisters. One evening, Leah stays overnight at Jenny's house. The girls have a lot of fun. They watch movies, eat popcorn, and talk late into the night. They tell each other jokes and play games. But around midnight, Lee has an idea. "Let's go out for a walk in the park. It will be exciting to be outside so late," she says, giggling. Jenny is unsure. "But Leah, my parents want us to stay at home. What if they find out we went out?" She knows her parents can be very strict, but she doesn't want Leah to think she's boring. Leah waves it off. "Oh, come on, it will just be a short walk. No one will notice," she says, smiling at Jenny. "It will be fun." Jenny thinks for a moment, then gives in and says, "Okay, but just for a short time." The two girls quietly sneak out of the house. They quickly go to the park and enjoy the cool night air. It's dark, and the stars are shining in the sky. They laugh and run through the park. "This is so exciting!" Leah shouts. After a while, they decide to go back. "Let's get home quickly before anyone wakes up," Jenny says. But as they are just sneaking back into the house, they hear Jenny's mother waking up. "Girls, where were you?" she asks in a serious tone. Jenny feels her heart start to race. "Oh, we were just in the bathroom," she replies quickly. Her mother looks at her suspiciously, but doesn't say anything more. Jenny feels a little bad for lying, but she is glad they didn't get caught. The next morning, the phone rings. It's Leah's mother. She asks Jenny if she and Leah were at home all night. Before Jenny can answer, Leah whispers on the phone, "Please, Jenny, tell her we were at home. If she finds out, I'll be in big trouble." Jenny is facing a big dilemma. She loves her friend and doesn't want to get her in trouble, but she also knows that it's not right to keep lying. Her stomach hurts and she feels very unsure. "What should I do?" she asks herself. "Should I protect my friend and lie? Or should I tell the truth?" After a few seconds, Jenny takes a deep breath and says quietly, "I'm sorry, Leah, but I can't lie." Then she tells Leah's mother, "Actually, we went to the park for a short time. I'm sorry we didn't say that right away." Leah's mother is surprised, but she is also thankful for Jenny's honesty. "Thank you, Jenny, for telling me the truth. I will talk to Leah about this," she says seriously, but not angrily. Jenny hangs up the phone and looks at Leah. Leah looks disappointed. "Why did you do that?" Now I'll definitely get in trouble, she complains. I know, Leah, but I just couldn't lie, Jenny explains calmly. It was better to tell the truth. I'm sorry if you get in trouble because of it. A few hours later, Leah's mother calls both girls into the living room. Leah, I'm disappointed that you went out without permission, but I'm glad Jenny told the truth. Because she was honest, I won't be too strict this time, but please don't do something like this again. Leah looks at the floor and then at Jenny. I'm sorry, Jenny. I shouldn't have asked you to lie. I understand why you couldn't do it. Jenny smiles, feeling relieved. It's okay, Leah. I just want us both to do the right thing. From that day on, their friendship becomes even stronger. Leah realizes that she can trust Jenny even when things get tough. And Jenny learns that honesty and trust are the most important things in a friendship. She now knows that it's sometimes hard to tell the truth, but that it's always the best thing to do. A few days later, Leah says to Jenny, "Thank you for being honest. I'm glad we're friends." Jenny smiles. Me too, Leah. Let's always be honest with each other. Ryan and the Schoolyard Challenge. Ryan is a 12-year-old boy who goes to school in a small town. He has short blonde hair and a friendly face. Ryan is a good student and has many friends, but he does not want to be different. One day, during the big break, he sees something that makes him feel worried. At the edge of the schoolyard, there is a new boy. Ryan has seen him a few times before, but they have not talked yet. Today, he sees that the new boy is standing with some older boys around him. They are pushing him and making fun of him. "Why are you wearing that silly jacket?" one boy says. "Do you think you are a clown?" Ryan stops and feels his heart beating fast. What should I do? He thinks. Should I help? But if I say something, they might laugh at me too. He feels unsure and looks around. No one is helping the new boy. The other students look away or act like they don't see anything. Ryan sees that the boy looks sad and afraid. He feels bad for just watching. I can't leave him alone, thinks Ryan, but I am also scared. He thinks for a while, takes a deep breath, and decides he has to do something. I don't want anyone to be alone when they need help, he tells himself. After a moment of thinking, Ryan feels brave and walks over to the group. Hey, stop that, he says loudly. The older boys stop and look at him, surprised. What do you want? Asks one of the boys, pushing Ryan a little. Ryan feels scared, but he stays. It is not okay to be mean to someone just because they are new, he says. His voice is shaking a bit. The boys laugh at first, but then they lose interest. Come on, let's go, one says, and they walk away, talking quietly. Ryan takes a deep breath and turns to the new boy. Are you okay? He asks. The boy nods, his eyes still wide. Thank you. My name is Max, he says quietly. I'm Ryan, says Ryan with a smile. If you want, you can play with us. Max smiles back, and the two boys walk together back to the schoolyard. They start talking, and Ryan quickly learns that Max is very nice. Why hasn't anyone made friends with you yet? Asks Ryan. Max shrugs. I'm new here. Also, my dad is the school head, and many are scared of me. Ryan is surprised. Your dad is the head? He asks. Max nods. Yes, but he is nice. He will be happy to hear that you helped me. The next day, Ryan is asked to go to the head's office. He feels a bit nervous, but when he comes in, he sees Max and his father, the head, smiling. Ryan, Max told me what happened yesterday, says the head kindly. I want to thank you for being so brave. It takes a lot of courage to help others, and I am happy to have you at our school. Ryan feels his face get warm, but he is also happy. "Thank you, sir," he says. After that day, Max and Ryan become best friends. They play together, study together, and spend a lot of time together. Max tells Ryan many stories about his father and what it is like to be the head son. Ryan learns that Max is just like any other boy and can be a good friend. One day, while they are playing together on the schoolyard, Ryan sees a group of kids making fun of another child. He looks at Max and says, "We should help." Max nods and says, "Yes, we should." Together, they walk over to the kids and say, "Hey, stop that." The kids look surprised but stop, and the child they were mean to is thankful. Ryan and Max smile at each other. They know now that you should always do the right thing, even if it is hard. They have learned that being brave is important and that you should never wait to help a friend who needs it. Liam and the right choice. Liam is a 13-year-old boy who goes to school in a small town. He has curly brown hair and a friendly smile. Liam is a good student, but he also likes to have fun and spend time with his friends. One morning, on his way to school, his friend Ben runs up to him. "Hey, Liam," Ben says with a cheeky grin. "How about we don't go to school today? Let's skip and go into town." Liam is surprised. "What? But we have classes today. The teachers will know we are not there," he says, unsure. Ben laughs. "Come on, just once. No one will notice. It will be fun. We could go to the cinema, eat ice cream, and have a great day." Liam thinks. Part of him really wants to go with Ben. It sounds like an adventure, and he really doesn't feel like doing math and boring classes today. But then he thinks about his parents. They have often told him how important school is and that he should always try his best. "What should I do?" he wonders. "Should I go with Ben and have fun? Or should I go to school like always?" Liam stops for a moment and thinks. It would be so easy to go with Ben, he thinks. But what if I get caught? What if my parents find out? He feels that skipping school would be the wrong choice. After a few seconds, he takes a deep breath and decides. "I'm sorry, Ben," says Liam finally, "but I'm going to school today. My parents would be very angry if they found out I skipped school." Ben rolls his eyes. "Okay, you goody-goody," he says with a grin, "but you're missing out." Liam shrugs and continues to school. When he gets there, he feels a little unsure, but also proud that he made the right choice. In the first class, math, the teacher suddenly says, "Today, we have a surprise test." Liam's heart beats faster. A test? Oh no, he thinks. But then he remembers that he did his homework and studied well. He sits down, takes his pen, and starts solving the questions. The questions are hard, but Liam stays calm and focuses. He does his best. At the end of the class, the teacher collects the tests. Liam feels relieved that he came to school. "Luckily, I am here today," he thinks. "I would have missed the test." The next day, Liam gets his test results back. He got an A. The teacher praises him in front of the class. "Well done, Liam. You got all the questions right." Liam smiles with pride. He is happy that he went to school. But then he notices that Ben is not there today. In the afternoon, when Liam is walking home, he sees Ben on the street. "Hey, Ben," calls Liam. "Why weren't you at school?" Ben sighs. "I got in trouble because I skipped school," he says quietly. "And I heard there was a test. Now I don't know what I missed." Liam thinks for a moment. He knows Ben made a mistake, but he wants to help him. "You know what, Ben?" he says kindly. "I'll help you catch up on the lessons. You made a mistake, but I am your friend. We can do this together." Ben looks relieved and smiles. "Thanks, Liam. That means a lot," he says. The two friends spend the afternoon together. Liam explains the math problems from the test and shows Ben how to solve them. They learn and laugh together, and Ben starts to understand everything he missed. He is glad Liam is helping him. The next day, Ben goes back to school. He practiced the math problems and feels better prepared. After school, he says to Liam, "Thank you for helping me. I won't skip school again. I learned that it's important to do the right thing." Julia and the Beautiful Scarf. Julia is a 35-year-old woman who lives in a big, busy city. She has brown hair and likes to wear elegant clothes. Julia loves walking through small shops and looking for special things. One sunny afternoon, she is walking down the street when she sees something in a shop window. It is a beautiful hand-woven scarf in warm red colors that would be perfect with her new jacket. This is just perfect, Julia thinks, and enters the shop. She goes straight to the scarf, takes it carefully in her hands, and feels how soft the wool is. "This scarf feels so warm and cozy," she says quietly to herself. "I must have it." Julia goes to the counter, but when she reaches for her wallet, she realizes she has left it at home. Her heart sinks. "Oh no, what do I do now?" she thinks. She could put the scarf back and come later, but she is worried it might be sold by then. Should I take the risk and leave, or should I ask the lady at the counter to hold the scarf for me? She wonders. Julia thinks for a moment. She takes a deep breath and decides to be honest and ask. She goes to the counter and smiles at the friendly older woman standing there. "Excuse me," Julia begins. "I found this beautiful scarf, but I left my wallet at home. Could you please hold the scarf for me while I quickly go home to get it?" The woman at the counter, who introduces herself as Mrs. Schmidt, smiles and says, "Of course, dear. We don't usually hold items, but I appreciate your honesty." Julia feels relieved and thanks her warmly. She leaves the shop and hurries home. She doesn't live very far, but she rushes anyway so she doesn't lose the scarf. On the way, she thinks again and again, what if someone else wants to buy the scarf? What if the shop lady changes her mind? Finally, Julia arrives home. She grabs her wallet and quickly returns to the shop. She moves fast, her heart beating with excitement. She enters the shop and looks right at the counter. To her relief, the scarf is still there. Mrs. Schmidt smiles when she sees Julia. "There you are. I knew you would come back," she says kindly. "Thank you for keeping the scarf for me," says Julia happily as she takes the money from her wallet. Mrs. Schmidt smiles and says, "You know what? Because you were honest and came back so quickly, I will give you a little discount on the scarf." Julia is surprised and very happy. "Oh, that is so kind of you. Thank you very much," she says cheerfully. With a big smile, Julia leaves the shop, wearing the beautiful scarf around her neck. She feels happy that she made the right choice. Sometimes, being honest not only feels good, but also brings little surprises. On her way back, Julia thinks about how important it is to be honest. She looks at the scarf that is now hers and thinks, it could have gone differently. Maybe she would have sold the scarf. But because I was honest, I got the scarf and even a discount. Tim and the sweet honesty. Tim is a 9-year-old boy with brown hair and big, curious eyes. He loves sweets very much. Whenever he has money, he goes to the small candy shop on the corner. Today is a special day because his grandmother gave him some money to buy something nice. With a big smile and the coins in his hand, Tim quickly goes to the shop. The candy shop is like a little paradise for Tim. There are candies, chocolate bars, and gummy bears in all the colors of the rainbow. Tim looks at all the jars and shelves. He can hardly decide what to choose. Finally, he goes to the counter and picks his favorite sweets, some sour worms, a few chocolate truffles, and some red licorice sticks. Mr. Weber, the friendly shop owner, stands behind the counter and smiles. "Hello, Tim. What would you like today?" he asks kindly. Tim points at the sweets and says, "I would like these, please." Mr. Weber takes the sweets and puts them in a small paper bag. "That will be exactly €3, Tim," he says, still smiling. Tim gives him the coins, takes the bag, and leaves the shop happily. Outside on the street, Tim opens the bag to count his sweets. But when he looks inside, he notices the bag is much heavier than it should be. He sees that Mr. Weber gave him many more sweets than he paid for. "Wow," Tim thinks, "this is like a little treasure." For a moment, Tim feels very happy. This is like a gift, he thinks, but then another thought comes to his mind. What should I do now? He asks himself. Should I keep the extra sweets and eat them, or should I go back and tell Mr. Weber? Tim stands on the sidewalk and thinks. The extra sweets are tempting, and he could just eat them and no one would know. But that is not right, he thinks. It would not be fair to Mr. Weber. He looks at the bag and then back at the shop. It would be better to be honest, he says to himself. After a few seconds of hesitation, Tim turns around and goes back to the shop. His heart beats a little faster, but he knows he must do the right thing. When he enters the shop, Mr. Weber looks surprised. "Tim, are you back already?" he asks with a smile. "Mr. Weber," says Tim, feeling a bit nervous, "I think you gave me too many sweets." Mr. Weber looks up and checks the bag. "Oh, really? Let me see," he says, taking the bag. He quickly counts the sweets and nods. "You are right, Tim. I gave you too many by mistake." Tim feels a weight lift off his shoulders. "I'm sorry," he says quietly. "I just wanted to be honest." Mr. Weber smiles broadly. "Tim, you don't have to be sorry. In fact, I thank you for your honesty. It's good to see you do the right thing, even when it's hard." He takes a small chocolate egg from the counter and places it in Tim's hand. "Here, this is a little reward for your honesty," he says. "Enjoy it." Tim beams with joy. "Thank you, Mr. Weber," he says happily. He leaves the shop with the chocolate egg in his hand. On the way home, Tim feels good. He knows he did the right thing. He returned the extra sweets and got a small reward. He thinks about Mr. Weber's words and smiles. Sometimes it pays to be honest, he thinks. When he gets home, Tim tells his mother what happened. "Mom, I learned an important lesson today," he says proudly. Lisa and the courage to tell the truth. Lisa is a 42-year-old woman who works in a big company in Hamburg. She has long brown hair and is known for being friendly and helpful. Lisa has been working in the company for many years and knows almost all her colleagues well. One day, there is an important team meeting. All the employees are sitting in the big meeting room, and their boss, Mr. Meyer, is talking about a new project. Suddenly, the mood in the room changes. Mr. Meyer looks sternly at their colleague Thomas and says, "Thomas, you made a big mistake. You put the wrong numbers in the report. Because of you, the project is delayed." Thomas looks surprised and confused. He doesn't know what to say. "But I am sure I did everything right," he stammers. Thomas lowers his head and looks very sad. Lisa, who is sitting next to Thomas, knows he is telling the truth. She worked with him on the report a few days ago. Thomas worked very carefully and checked everything many times. Lisa also remembers that the wrong numbers probably came from another colleague, Claudia. Claudia has been very stressed and overworked lately, but no one in the room seems to remember or wants to notice. Lisa feels her heart beating faster. She knows Thomas is innocent, but she is afraid to say something. What should I do? She asks herself. Should I stand up and defend Thomas? But what if I get into trouble too? She sees that Thomas is getting sadder. Something inside her tells her she cannot stay silent. After a moment of thinking, Lisa takes a deep breath, stands up, and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Meyer, but I think there is a mistake." Everyone in the room turns to look at Lisa. "I worked with Thomas on the report," she continues, "and he checked all the numbers very carefully. I think the mistake might have come from someone else." Mr. Meyer looks surprised, but then nods. "Thank you, Lisa," he says, "for speaking up. We will check the numbers again." Thomas looks at Lisa with gratitude. "Thank you," he whispers. "You saved me." After the meeting, Lisa feels relieved. She is happy she did the right thing. Later, Claudia comes up to her. "I am sorry, Lisa," Claudia says quietly. "I think I made the mistake. Thank you for not blaming me in front of everyone."